Welcome to the Math Lab on the Poplarville campus. My name is Mr. Morris. I'm actually the lab coordinator. We have lots of people that work in the Math Lab that can help you. But I want to make you familiar with the Math Lab and our rules today. So I'm going to go over a few rules and a few policies that we have that will help you be successful when you come here. There are two sides to the Math Lab. We have the homework side and the testing side, and first we're going to go over some rules for the homework side. No matter if you're doing homework or taking a test, the very first thing you do when you walk in the lab, you'll be on the homework side when you walk in. The very first thing you'll do is go to the desk and give them your student ID. We will use your student ID to swipe you in and start keeping track of how much time you're spending. When you leave the lab, whether you're leaving testing or homework, you will walk back to that desk, that front desk in the homework side of the lab, and we will swipe you out. Make sure when we swipe you out that we say you have spent blank amount of time in the lab today. Whenever we tell you you have spent blank amount of time, you want to be sure to write that down and keep up with how much time you are spending in the math lab. We don't keep up with that for you. We obviously keep up with it, but it's a long report that we have to run. So you have to keep up with that yourself. Another thing you need to know when you come to the math lab, you have to come prepared to work. Bring your notebook with you. Bring headphones, calculator, and a pencil. Now, we do have headphones and calculators that you can check out, but this is a big lab and we have only so many headphones and calculators to spare. So we may run out. Bring your own if you have it. It's much cleaner to use what you own. On the homework side of the math lab, we do not want to see cell phones. On the homework side, it's okay if it's in your pocket, in your backpack. I just don't want to see it. If you have a phone call or a text message that you need to take, you need to walk to the front desk, swipe out, and take your call. Now, this is for the homework side of the lab. The testing side, we'll go over that cell phone policy in just a second, but it's much more strict. I also do not want to see food or drinks in the lab because we do have to take care of the computer. Again, calculators and headphones may be checked out. We do have a limited amount, so if you have your own, bring your own. But if you do need to check out calculators or headphones, you'll just walk up to that front desk and we'll get you taken care of. Computers are to only be used for mathematics purposes. That means no games, no checking email, don't be on YouTube finding music or anything like that. Only use it for your math assignments. Now, this also means that you can't be on Canvas. You can't be on RiverGuide. I understand that those are student accounts that you have, but the account that you use for this class is MyLabs Plus. If you're on Canvas, you're not doing work for this class. You can't be on it. If this becomes a problem, we'll have to ask you to leave. When you're in the math lab, you have to remember that this environment is sort of like a library. Look around you. When you get there, it looks like a library. We have to remain quiet and respectful to the other people around us, just as you would in a library, because this is an academic learning environment. Also, within this rule, we want to make sure that you keep this learning environment neat and clean. So when you leave, just clean up after yourself, put your chair in. We don't want to create any distractions in a dirty lab. A noisy lab distracts students from learning what they need to learn. I personally think the math lab is a great environment, an environment of lots of curiosity and learning and people helping people. We want to keep that environment, so if you choose to break any of these rules, or if you're disruptive, if any of these rules become a problem, just remember we have cameras, we're watching what you do. If there's a problem, we're going to have to ask you to leave and we'll have to erase your time. Let's go over a few rules for the testing lab. Again, when you walk into the math lab, you will be walking into the homework side of the lab. Go to that desk on the homework side of the lab and swipe in, but then tell them that you have to take a test. They'll give you your ID back, and you'll take that ID along with a pencil and a blue book next door, and that's what you will use to get started on your test. You will just take those items to the front desk on the testing side of the lab. When you come to take a test, you do not need personal belongings with you. No cell phones, watches, keys, purses, backpacks, the whole list. If you have any of that stuff with you, we have a bookshelf, and we also have lockers outside the homework lab that you can use. If you do need a locker, when you go to swipe in on the homework side of the lab, just tell them that you need a key, and we will get you one to lock your stuff in. If you don't need a locker, just put it on the shelf. We've already talked about the cell phone policy for the homework lab and how it's different from the testing lab. But just to clarify, the homework policy is that we just don't want to see it. If you're on the homework side of the lab, you can have it in your pocket, you can have it in your book bag, but we just don't want to see you using it. Now on the testing side of the lab, it's much more strict. You cannot have it at all. If you have a cell phone with you, you need to remember to ask for a locker or just put it on the shelf in your book bag. If a cell phone goes off, or we see you with a cell phone or any other sort of media device like a watch or an iPod, we're gonna consider that cheating. Even if, let's just say that you walk in that lab and you have your cell phone on you but you forgot about it, and we walk by and we see it, or it goes off on mistake and you weren't technically using it, we have to consider that cheating. You have to remember to put those things away. You are not allowed to wear jackets during testing. We'll just ask you to leave that on the shelf. Once you are seated at your testing station, you must go directly to the test. If you are caught on any other website, even on your homework, before you hit the test, we're going to collect your blue book and we're going to ask you to leave. If you're on the testing side, that's exactly what you need to be doing. You need to be testing. Math questions are not allowed during testing. When you come to take a test, you want to make sure that you've gone to the restroom and everything that you need to do, because once you start a test, you have to submit it before you leave. So that means, if there's an emergency, if you need to use the restroom during a test, you have to submit that test, or you can't walk out. So once you start a test, be prepared to finish it. This next rule may seem like common sense, but once you have finished a test, once you have submitted it, you need to leave the testing side of the lab. That means don't stick around and do your homework or stick around and look at something else. You must leave. Go do your homework on the other side of the lab. You can't start a test 30 minutes prior to the lab closing. So on Mondays and Tuesdays when we close at 9 p.m., that means you can't start a test after 8:30. And on Wednesdays and Thursdays when we close at 5, you can't start a test after 4:30. Fridays, when we close at 2:30, you can't start a test after 2. You also need to know that the math lab is equipped with security cameras and computer monitoring software so that we can go back and look things up, and we basically see everything that you do. For additional information concerning the testing lab, you can contact Ms. Margie Johnson at 403-1087 or just email her at majohnson@prcc.edu. Last of all, I want to make sure that you know what the lab hours are. Now, you did hear me say that rule about you cannot take a test 30 minutes prior to closing. Well, when do we open? We open at 7:30 every single day. And then again, we close at 9 on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, we close at 5, and we close at 2:30 on Fridays. I hope this video has been helpful today, and I hope that you are more familiar with the math lab and what we expect out of you. We do expect a lot out of you, but I want to promise you that we are here to help you. We are here to ensure that you are successful in your math course. I want you to be comfortable in here, and I want you to ask plenty of questions. Now, whenever you do have a question, make sure to raise this flag. This is on the homework side of the lab. Make sure to raise that flag, and we're going to be there. We, as in me, Miss Amaker, any instructor, lots of your instructors will work in here, and we have work studies. We're going to be there to help you as soon as we can. I hope we have a great year.